Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the podcast where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. I am Professor Sides. You can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides. Today is Saturday, April 16th, 2022. This episode covers all of today's Major League Baseball games. In case you're new here, I built a mathematical model for win probability, and I analyze weather data in order to come up with some picks on totals. I'll make a pick on every game that's played Monday through Saturday. That doesn't mean that I recommend you do the same. I'm just giving you information as to what I like the most and where my head is for each matchup. As I go through the plays, remember there are no locks in gambling, so we'll give you our loves, likes, and leans to help you decide which picks you might want to play and how I recommend you scaling your wagers. With that in mind, please understand that good and bad variance will occur, so as much as I'd like to say will be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Yesterday, not profitable at all, not a good day. Some of y'all are new around here, and hey, we're going to treat the good days like we do the bad days. We're not going to overreact. We're also not going to try to underreact, right? We want to try to find that right balance. Yesterday did not go well. As I watched the games, some of them were just wonky, and that is what it is. That's just the nature of the business. We'll talk about good luck when we have good luck. We'll talk about bad luck when we have bad luck. That Rockies ending with 2 outs, push on the line, nobody on base, a ground ball that lands 9 feet in front of home plate somehow ends up a double. A ground ball that then goes up the middle towards the center fielder ends up as a double. No error on the play either. If you haven't seen the play, the shortstop falls down. Things like that happen. And so, some bad luck, things like that. So things like the Pirates game, I still stay by Mitch Keller. I think is the better pitcher. He got hit around last night. That's going to happen. So obviously if that continues to happen, then we'll, adjust our metrics on him and treat him a little bit differently. But, some pitchers are going to get hit around when you don't expect it. That's the way it goes. Yesterday, not a good day. We're going to try to get back on the right track today here on this Saturday. A lot of things I like. I teased it on Twitter if you're following me over there. Just a truly shocking number of A plays for you today. That is not an understatement. There are a lot of things I really like today on the board. And before we get to all those, just some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. If you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free and the only way to ensure you don't miss any college basketball, MLB, or college football content this channel provides. Share with a friend if you know there's in the game. Hit me up on Twitter or drop a comment if you're on YouTube. I love those and try to respond to as many as I can. We're going to start off with same afternoon game we started off with yesterday. Diamondbacks at the Mets, 1:10 Eastern, first pitch. A game that half of it went as I expected with respect to the under. The other half did not. The Mets scored a lot of runs against a weaker starter for the Diamondbacks. I mentioned yesterday it was only a B pick, not an A pick. A lot of the times I've gone under with the Diamondbacks. I've really, really liked it. It's been a love. And I've mentioned I'm going to continue to ride those Diamondbacks unders heavily when they have one of their better pitchers on the mound. They've got 3 that I definitely trust. Today, they've got one of those guys going in Zach Gallen. The Mets are throwing Carlos Carrasco. Not really sure what to make of him overall. He looks solid in his first outing of the season already. And I think I'm maybe less concerned about Carlos Carrasco, his long-term output, and more concerned about the fact that he faces just a truly terrible Diamondbacks offense today. The Mets are solid favorites in this one. The model thinks they should be minus 143. But I'm going to go back to the under, and I'm going to give this one an A grade. Zach Gallen's a good pitcher. The Diamondbacks offense is awful. The total is 8. I'm going under 8. It's minus 110 with an A pick. This feels like a game that's going to get stuck around 4 or 5 total runs. I really like this one under. The Diamondbacks unders, again, have been pretty safe for the most part, and they've been really safe when they've had one of their better pitchers on the mound. Weather-wise, we have a slight wind out, nothing really extreme. Temperature's pretty normal. So it just kind of is what it is there. Nothing to scare me off of the under in that one. 2:10 Eastern, first pitch, Rays at the White Sox. Corey Kluber versus Michael Kopech. White Sox are minus 129 favorite, and that's the side that I'm playing. The model thinks it should be minus 136. I'm giving this a B grade. I don't really have a ton to say about this one with respect to exactly what will happen and analysis on the pitchers. I'm just trusting the model. The model thinks the White Sox win this one nearly 58% of the time, and that makes us a profitable bet. It should be noted on this one that there are some winds blowing out to left, but it's going to be a cooler night. So nothing there for me on the total on that one. 3:07 Eastern first pitch, Athletics at the Blue Jays. Blue Jays are giant favorites. Again, the A's continue to get no respect. They weren't able to get the win last night, but they did hang in there in that one. I'm going to go back with the A's again on this one today. They are plus 201, and I'm going to give that a B pick. The model thinks it should only be 191, so we've got some value there. Obviously, if that wins, that'll provide a nice boost to the bankroll for us. I still think the A's are being undervalued. I'm not sure there's that big of a discrepancy between these two starting pitchers. Not that I think Paul Blackburn is great, but Ryu hasn't been solid of late. Looking back into some of his starts last year and his first start this year, I think that both of these pitchers can pitch well, but neither one is one that I really trust. And these odds are just way out of hand. Obviously, the Blue Jays have a better lineup, but at plus 201, to me, that's just something you can't pass up. B pick for me on the Athletics at those odds. I don't think they win, but I think in the long run, these are the type of plays that are going to pay off. Maybe they'll pay off for us here on this Saturday afternoon. 3 games here at this 4 o'clock Eastern slot. The Braves at the Padres is the first. Ian Anderson versus Nick Martinez. In this game, the Braves are a minus 110 favorite. The model thinks Braves minus 111. And even though that is not a giant edge, this is an edge that I really like. I think the Braves are the right side here. I think Ian Anderson is just a much better pitcher than Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez is a pitcher who's had some decent results with the Rangers, but his underlying metrics were bad. And then he had some bad results, and his underlying metrics, surprisingly, were still bad. I don't think he's a good pitcher. I like the Braves a lot in this spot, so I'm going to give this an A pick. Even though it's not a huge model edge, I think the Braves are the side you want to be on here. Overall, these two teams are relatively even matched. I just think the starting pitching matchup massively favors the Braves here in this one. Temperature-wise, mid-60s, wind kind of blowing in, so nothing special on that one. Twins at the Red Sox, 4:10 Eastern, Sonny Gray versus Tanner Houck. I like the Red Sox in this one. The Red Sox are a minus 117 favorite. I'm giving that a B pick. The model thinks it should be minus 121. Both these pitchers are pretty solid. But I think that the Red Sox bats are just a little bit better, and they're at home, and so I like them to get the job done here. Wind is blowing out, low double digits to left. Any routine fly ball with some elevation on it's probably going to get over the monster on that one. It's already a short fence. Anyway, wind blowing out is going to help that even more. Otherwise, I would like the under on this one with both of these pitchers at 9.5. Just the wind scares me off of that one. So a B pick for me on the Red Sox at minus 117. The Tigers at the Royals, also in that 4 o'clock Eastern first pitch slot. Matt Manning versus Chris Bubik. I'm going with the Royals. They're minus 109. I'm giving this an A grade. The model thinks minus 126, so a huge model edge on this one. I think both these pitchers are pretty even according to my numbers. I would give a slight edge to Bubik on this one rather than Manning. But neither one of them is anything special. Chillier temperatures, wind blowing in. Under would be a solid look in this one. This is one of the ones that if I had to play, if I was playing two things, if I wasn't just making one pick per game, under is definitely one I would go with because neither pitcher's bad. 8.5 is a relatively large number for this type of weather. Again, with the breeze, about 10 miles an hour in from left. Mid-50 temperatures. But I like the Royals just too much on this one to pass up that advantage. I think this one should be at least Royals minus 120. Probably Royals minus 130 makes a lot more sense. So if we're under minus 110, that's just value that we've got to take and trust in the long run that's going to play out for us. So A pick for me on the Royals minus 109. Moving to the 6:10 Eastern first pitch slot, we've got Phillies at the Marlins. Ranger Suarez versus Trevor Rogers. This one, I really like both pitchers. The model thinks it should be Marlins minus 100. I give them a 50.1% win probability. So if you wanted to play the Marlins on that, right now they're at even money. That's not crazy. That's just not really a big edge there. And as I talked about last time with Suarez, he's one that I want to continue to watch. He's a little bit tougher to peg because most pitchers aren't relievers. We just don't have a lot of data on relievers who turned starter and were really good. So was that a small sample size of last year? Now, if there's a book out, are people going to figure him out, or is this the real deal? If so, again, it's just rare, and so it's harder to really peg him. So fading him or backing him is a little bit tougher to do, but I'll take the under on this one. It's under right now 7.5 at plus 106. So at your book, you might see under 8 at something like minus 110 or minus 115. That would also be a good play. I'm giving it an A. I love this one. I want to talk real quick about humidity. I talked about humidity in previous episodes, and I made the comment that humidity makes the ball, more humidity kills the ball, makes it die, and then less humidity doesn't. And that's a true statement with regards to what its effect on the ball, not how the ball's flying through the air. And it is interesting. We talked about the added humidor for every major league park this year and the effects that would have. We expect it to have the biggest effect on San Francisco and San Diego, but so far we have not seen this effect. The idea, and I won't go too long on this, but the idea is that in places like Miami, since again we're talking about here, San Francisco, San Diego, these places where we have a lot of humidity in the air, the balls are being stored at humid temperatures and the ball's soaking up that water. And that can have an effect on the fly ball. Some research has been done that I was looking into of up to 30 or 40 feet for a well-struck ball. And think about like this, you take a sponge and it was dry, you throw it on the wall, it would hit the wall, bounce off, bounce on the ground, bounce around a few times potentially. But if you stick that in water, even if you wrung it out, so you got most of the water, just had a little bit of water and threw it against the wall, when it hits the ground, it's going to plop. And that's what was happening more or less with the baseball. The yarn in the baseball holds that water from the humidity. And that's why sometimes in humid environments, you will see the ball just not go anywhere. It's not about the air. The air being a little bit thinner in humidity only affects the ball distance by inches. But what will happen is that really dense ball now just doesn't travel. That's why in some of those situations, you'll see a guy make great contact. You don't think it's a home run, and the outfielder is just a routine fly ball. Now, the humidor was supposed to fix that. So far, I have not seen any evidence of that. Now, it's a really small sample size. It's really early in the season, but watching the games in Miami, watching the games in San Diego, watching the games in San Francisco, kind of the three that I'm mainly keeping my eye on, it's almost like the balls are still kind of playing the same way, picking up more on the humid atmosphere there rather than being in the humidor, which is supposed to keep it at a normal humidity rather than the humidity of the air, just outside and room to room, that sort of thing. And so I don't know what's happening. Again, not to get on a tangent, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but we have evidence that Major League Baseball has not been straightforward with what's going on with the balls. So we know what they say they're going to do. We don't actually know what they're doing. We've had multiple times where they've said, no, this is what we're doing. And then people have come back with evidence against them and they said, yeah, you're right. Actually, we didn't do that. So we just have no idea. What I'm saying is so far, the pitchers' parks have stayed pitchers' parks. And if that's the case, I like this under even more because if we see any of that here tonight with Suarez and Rogers, I see this being a really low-scoring game. I like it to be low-scoring, even aside from that. And like I said, if there's any extra humidity in those balls, making them not carry, that ballpark in Miami is already cavernous. I really like under in that one, a pick for me. And then also at that same time slot, Giants at the Guardians, DeSclafani and Cal Quantrill for the Guardians. The model thinks this is a toss-up game, so I'm staying away from the side. Quantrill pitched very well last year. DeSclafani obviously has pitched very well last year as well. DeSclafani's first start this year did not go well. His batting average on balls in play skyrocketed, partially because of a higher hard hit percentage, line drive percentage, barrel, exit velocity, kind of whichever metric you want to look at there. People were hitting him pretty hard. That's something to keep an eye on, but it's also just one start, and he had many good starts last year. Did occasionally have a start where he struggled. That's what I'm going to assume that first one was just one of those one-offs and that he's actually still, just didn't lose it all of a sudden over the offseason. So I'm giving you another A pick. I love this one, under 8, minus 106. If you had to have me pick a side, you could probably talk me into the Giants, but I just think both these pitchers are good. Weather-wise, it sets up for an under. The temperatures are going to be in the mid-40s, so nice and cold. That's going to kill some of the distance on fly balls, maybe keep a warning track fly ball in rather than going out. And again, it is going to have some humidity there. So as I was just talking about with regards to, we don't really know what's going on with that humidor. If the ball is picking up some of that humidity from the outdoor air, then that's going to give us an extra boost. Either way, I really like these pitchers. I think 8's a solid number to go under on this one. So under 8 minus 106, a pick for me. 6:30 Eastern, Nationals at the Pirates. Josh Rogers and Bryce Wilson. The model like the Pirates' first two nights. Today it says no edge on the side. It makes the Pirates minus 112. That's about where they are. So if you wanted to, you could go back and play the Pirates again. Instead, I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under 9 with a B pick. This is kind of a little bit of a hold your nose special. I don't really like either starting pitcher. Neither one's bad, but neither one's really good. It's an under because it's under 9, which is a nice number because if it's 4-4, obviously we hope it doesn't go extra innings and something crazy happen, but if it's 4-4, we can break that tie at 5-4 and still get the push. Only a B pick, not a love. But the weather's right for this one to be an under as well. Again, low temperatures will be upper 40s. Lots of humidity again, if that has any effect. If it doesn't, still cold temperatures, which I like. Wind about 6 miles an hour. So it is blowing out, but it's not going to really have any effect because it's not going to be strong enough. So it's more about colder temperatures, offenses that I don't really trust, and two starting pitchers that are okay. So it's not one I love, only a B pick for me. But I think under's the right side here based off of the weather in that one. 7:05 Eastern, first pitch, Angels at the Rangers. Noah Syndergaard versus Taylor Hearn. Angels are minus 112, and that's a side I'm going to back with an A pick. The model thinks it should be minus 122. Thor really dropping the hammer their last start. The one he pitched against the Astros and Verlander there was a fantastic pitcher's duel. Obviously, you expect Syndergaard to throw a few more pitches this time. Taylor Hearn is a pitcher who the metrics don't hate, but I swear every time I watch him pitch, he underwhelms me. So I'm not really sure what to make of that. But either way, if the Angels get anywhere near the same start they get out of Thor as they got last game, then I think they're the right side to be on. So I think Angels minus 112, a pick for me on that one. I mean, the Angels yesterday got away with something I've never even heard of, walking a batter with the bases loaded intentionally. And it was like the third inning. I don't understand how you do that, why you do it. It didn't really work for them because they gave up that run and a couple more that inning, but they still won the game. So maybe the Angels have found their lucky rabbit's foot or something in Arlington. I think the pitching matchup favors them a lot tonight. So I think that's the side we want to be on. So a pick for me on the Angels. Same first pitch time here, 7:05 Eastern, Yankees at the Orioles. Taillon versus Tyler Wells. This is the one game of the day I have absolutely no feel for. There's no model edge, really. I'm going with a C pick on the Orioles, plus 161. The model thinks it should be plus 160, so 1 cent of edge for us. Only a C pick. I don't even like it, really. I don't really have a feel for either one of these pitchers. I'll take the Orioles in the plus odds because anything can happen. We saw them get the win last night. Doesn't mean I think they will tonight, but who really knows with baseball? Both these pitchers are pretty close to each other in terms of talent. There's not a huge mismatch. Total-wise, the weather's going to be okay to start, cooling off as the night goes along. Wind maybe a little bit out to right, but not overly helpful. The wind yesterday didn't help at all. Neither team could get it going, so I'm staying away from the total on that one as yesterday's overplay was a disaster. And with regards to the side, again, I don't know. I'll just go with the Orioles as a C pick because I like taking plus odds over laying odds. In general, that's the smarter play. Whether it works out for this on that one or not is to be seen. Like I said, only a lane, not one I really like there. Also, 17 Eastern, Cardinals, the Brewers, Steven Matz versus Adrian Hauser. The model thinks Brewers minus 124, so I'm going to make a B pick on the Brewers minus 115. It's really that straightforward. I don't trust either starting pitcher. I am trusting the model. Hauser does scare me a little bit, but we've seen the Brewers, have the potential to score some runs, and if they do, their bullpen is rested. So they don't need 7 from Hauser. They just need, 5, 6 would be fantastic. Really just 5. They've got a fully rested bullpen, and their bullpen is vastly superior to the Cardinals. Again, it is rested. So I think the Brewers probably the right side at minus 115. Not one I love, though, just a B pick for me there. Cubs at the Rockies, Mark Leiter Jr. versus Antonio Senzatella. Leiter Jr. making his first appearance in the major leagues in several years. I don't really think things are going to go well for him in Coors. I've got the Rockies as a minus 128 favorite, so I'm taking the Rockies minus 121 with a B pick. Only a B pick simply because the total is 12, and when you start getting the totals of that number, anything can happen. So I don't want to be over invested in a game that could be just a run fest, to use the basketball analogy, one of those, last team with the ball wins type thing. I don't want to be over invested in a game like that. I do think the Rockies are the right side. I think Sensatella is a pretty solid pitcher at Coors, relatively speaking. He doesn't have crazy splits. He kind of knows how to manage that environment. So I think Rockies minus 121 is the side I want to be on. B pick, I like it. Can't say I love it, though, knowing the total is that high. 9-10 Eastern, Astros at the Mariners. Justin Verlander versus Chris Flexen. Flexen's a pitcher that I'd like to back, but Verlander looked great that first start, and I expect more of the same from him. The model thinks Astros minus 144. I'm going A pick on the Astros minus 139. I think there's value there. The Astros got to throw all their bad pitchers in the bullpen last night, so they've got all their good arms definitely rested up tonight. Not much to say other than I think Verlander's a much better pitcher than Flexen. I would like the under in this usually, but the total 7.5 is just really low. If you can get under 8, that might be a way to look. That way, at least you get push protection if you end up with a 5-3, 6-2 type game. But instead, I just think the Astros are the side you want to be on here. I think Verlander and Syndergaard, as we talked about earlier, both looked really good in their first starts after missing some time in previous seasons. I don't see why they don't continue to do that here in their second start. So A pick from the Astros minus 139. And then for the nightcap, 10-10 Eastern, Reds at the Dodgers. Hunter Green versus Julio Urias. The model thinks the Dodgers should be a minus 202 favorite. So if you wanted to back the Reds again, like we did last night, you could. They're plus 212. Last night's Red play wasn't a bad play. I think it played out more or less exactly like we thought it would. I mentioned yesterday, I didn't think the Reds would win. I just thought there was value. And sure enough, the Dodgers only scored 3 runs. With that offense, I think that's pretty good. They only got the 1 run. And so, again, it's one of those situations where when you're backing dogs like that, you don't need them to win every night. You don't need them to win 50% of the time. So if you want to go back to the Reds today, not a bad play. I think there's some value there. I'm going to go a different route just because I like it more, is the under 8.5. It's only minus 105. And I'm giving that an A pick. Like I said, I watched that game last night, and I could not help but watch or notice so many well-struck balls that were just routine fly balls. Balls that I thought were gone going to the warning track. And I think it's just reminiscent of, remember that Dodger Stadium, when it's hot in the day, that ball carries like crazy. You want to go over, it doesn't matter what the number is. And when it's night and chilly, you want to go under. And so tonight, temperature's going to start off about 60 degrees. Going to fall in the upper 50s. It's going to be chilly. A ton of humidity in the air. Again, not going to really affect the ball flying through the air. And if it has any effect on the actual weight of the ball itself, that's going to play to our favor. Again, I don't know if it is or not. It's going to take more time before I can confidently say either way. But even aside from that, I just think if we saw what we said last, and the wind's starting off going to blow out, but the wind's going to die down as it moves on. But we saw the wind blowing out last night, and it just did not matter. The ball just didn't carry. Well-struck balls, not going anywhere. I like both of these pitchers, Green and Urias. I think they're both very solid, and I think they can keep this game low scoring. So under 8.5 is an A pick for me to close out our night. So a recap of the A picks, and my goodness, there are a lot of them. Some nights we're going to have 2 A picks. If it's a short slate, 1 A pick, maybe even no A picks. I go through these. I don't try to make so many a day. I just grade them based off how I see them. Some nights are going to have more or less C picks. It just kind of is what it is. Today might be the record for most A picks in a day in the season. It's hard to see having more than this. Starting us off in the afternoon, I've got Diamondbacks and Mets under 8. I've got Braves and Padres. I've got the Braves minus 110. Tigers at the Royals. I've got Royals minus 109. Phillies at the Marlins. I've got under 7.5, and that's plus 106. So if you're not getting those great odds, I'd rather go under 8. Giants at Guardians under 8 at minus 106. Angels at Rangers. I've got the Angels minus 112. Astros at the Mariners with the Astros minus 139. And then Reds at Dodgers under 8.5. That's minus 105. Those are my A plays today. And that is all I have for you Thank you for tuning into another episode of Picks with the Professor. Reminder, check out the Google Sheet for model projections and results. You can find that link at the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. If you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button to ensure all the sports betting content provided on this channel is dropped right into your feed. I will see you Monday. I will post model output tomorrow, but there's no show or official picks from me during the regular season on Sundays. Best of luck this weekend, and until next week, remember, you're going to get your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.